I'm David,
I'm Donald.
and this is Wrestling Memories.
This is our review of World Class Championship Wrestling's the first annual David Von Erich Memorial Parade Champions, May 6, 1984, Irving, Texas, at Texas Stadium with 43,000 in attendance. Okay, second match for the Von Erich Memorial Parade Champions is a mixed tag team match. Chris Adams and Sunshine versus Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and Precious, which is his wife. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin is very much a modern-day Gorgeous George. And especially when he was in his later Crockett years, is the way he used the sharp-dressed man music, which you didn't. I don't think they even used music for this show. But no. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin is definitely the modern-day Gorgeous George. Now, this mixed tag team match, they definitely, as we were kind of doing commentary during the match, the camera and the match, the people are more focused watching. They wanted Precious and Sunshine to go at it. Now, Precious has ever gotten done, and even when she was in Crockett Jimmy, never got any physical work.
No, and even during this match, all you had was a few slaps and I think a couple punches, and that was the only physical work she even did in this match. But the cameras were so focused on the two of them that they actually ignored
the ending of the match. Saw Chris Adams pinning Jimmy. I honestly didn't know who won the match.
And the only thing you could see was the referee doing the 3 count because they didn't even show
the camera stayed so focused on Sunshine and Precious. It was a pretty good mixed tag team match. I remember when they did a match, and now a couple of years later, in a mixed tag team match, Great American Bash '87 in Philadelphia Civic Center, was Paul Jones and Dark Journey versus probably Jimmy Garvin and Precious, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken about the match. And it was, I know I have to look at the match itself. I know there was a switch in either the males, or females. There was a switch in it. It was probably, it's probably James J. Dillon's switch because he got hurt in a war game, so they put Paul Jones in his place. Okay. But this mixed tag team match, it was actually fun. It was very fun to watch. Chris bladed, but the focus we were waiting. I had never seen Precious do any ring work. She never got involved with anything with Jimmy Garvin other than when she was kidnapped by Kevin Sullivan in 1988. And still, it was like Kevin Sullivan grabbed a hold of her and took her, kind of technically kidnapped her in that angle. But this is the first, only time, unless she did a more ring working World Class I have not seen much of. This is the first time I've ever seen Precious physically get involved in any match.
And you could definitely tell by the match that Sunshine had more ring experience.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Complete inexperience.
She's known for being in mixed tag team matches, and I know she managed Missing Link, and some of the territories she's worked. She's been in mixed tag team matches. You can definitely see. But when either one of them, Sunshine did a lot more physical work than Sunshine, and I says, okay, can I say wait?
Yeah, she did more work than Precious.
Yeah, but who had done more work where Baby Doll did mixed tag matches during Great American Bash '86 tour. Baby Doll, she had to get her lickings on her attacks on Jim Cornette, and that was the same thing we watched here. Yeah, because Jim Cornette couldn't fight for a crap, and I said Precious couldn't fight for crap.
That was a lot of similarities. The managers / valleys who weren't going to fight because they couldn't fight.
They never got involved and see who was the better fighter, and you can see Sunshine, Precious got some slaps in. Now you would think, it looks like Sunshine and Precious did actually more work than Jimmy and Chris did.
Right, which they didn't. I mean, Jimmy and Chris were obviously in the match longer, but it didn't have the same action-packed impact.
For a major show, that is disappointing that the match itself, the ending with Adams pinning Jimmy Garvin, the camera missed it. No. God, WWE has a history of that, missing a pinfall. And in a major show, they're more focused on seeing the girls fight instead of the guys, and that's a very disappointing. It's a good, Chris Adams and Sunshine win, but it's disappointing you didn't get to see the match itself.
No.
But it was a very good match.
But camera work has gotten better over the years when it comes to that.
But
having multiple cameras.
But it was a very good. But it was a very good match.
For what it was actually better. Match.
All right, next match of the Parade of Champions is WC the world class mainstay. He's a world class Texas guy. Chick Donovan versus Hacksaw Butch Reed. Now, you heard the announcer say his name Natural and Hacksaw back and forth?
I heard it one time Natural and then 2 or 3 times Hacksaw, and I didn't understand why.
Because I know in WWF Butch Reed they gave him the name Natural rather than now. We were talking before we were working on it before we worked on this audio. We were discussing about Butch Reed. I will honestly say I've never been a fan of Butch Reed, and you said you don't like him. There's quite a few black wrestlers you don't like. No, more particularly Butch Reed. I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Rock.
No, but you named at least 4 or 5 that you did, so I was definitely...
Junkyard Dog, Ron Simmons, Rocky Johnson. There's quite a few legendary black wrestlers. Bubba Brazil. I mean, there's so many. But Butch Reed, I don't know, never sold with me. I've never been a fan of his, and he's been a great wrestler. He's had major title matches. Ric Flair.
Yeah, I know.
He's had world title matches with Ric Flair.
I know, and
Flair's a big fan of his.
Yeah, Flair has praised him a few times.
About Chick Donovan, also something I argued now, we're not arguing about the match itself. You said it was a standard match. This match should have happened before mixed tag.
At first I agreed, but now I understand why that had to come first, because you're trying to get people to fill the stadium early, so having the more high-profile match being first now makes sense, since that was probably the goal, to get people in the seats early for the show. The one
thing I've said about Chick Donovan is his blondish hair. And you said you think it's dyed blonde. It's not.
Yeah, because you can tell from the middle that he had some kind of dye done, because it was definitely dark.
Now, other wrestlers are known for blonde hair, but they're labeled or considered platinum blonde hair. Jeff Jarrett, Ric Flair, they're a whitish, I guess, blonde hair. Or whitish hair, or whitish or silver hair. This guy tried he's heavily blonde.
This guy was trying for more
like a golden blonde.
He was going for a Hogan type hair, which I can see the look what he was trying to go for. It didn't work, but I could see that's what he was.
Both are muscular. Both are very good athletes, very good wrestlers. It was a standard, very kind of.
Yeah, when you have,
it was an okay match.
Yeah, it was an okay match, but when you have two people that are basically more known for strength, you're not going to get much more than a strength-based contest.
And there was one point that Chick Donovan was outside the ropes, and I thought he was going to do the somersault flip over, and I can't remember the name of that move now.
I couldn't.
And he was going to do I thought he was going to do a flip over, a somersault. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of that move. No, he steps to the ropes instead.
Yeah. My guess is because of the stadium, they weren't going to do those kind of risks.
Now with Butch Reed, he did something very similar to someone who actually kind of They said he started in Memphis, but he got his name his name picked up in world class as Dingo Warrior. Yeah. He became the Ultimate Warrior in the WWF. Now Butch Reed did very similar moves that Warrior would do. He did and many wrestlers have done a power press
drop.
Now what amazes me about the power press. I've said it regularly during the match.
And then the flying shoulder
tackle. That way these wrestlers power press another wrestler over top of his head, and the other wrestlers would take both hands on top of the other shoulders as a balance.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that these guys, whether they're 200, 300 pounds, they're pressing the guy 200 to 300 pounds over their head. That's still amazing muscular power.
Oh yeah.
Even how well they work with each other. It's still amazing with a standing suplex that Dick Murdoch and Jimmy Garvin would do, a standing suplex. That's still, you're holding a guy over 200 pounds above your head and staying there.
And then once in a while, you'll come across a wrestler who will actually be able to pull it off with just one arm and use their other arm as a teasing mechanism. And it's like, how the hell are you holding this up?
Now, Butch Reed, he does a power press, he drops, and Ultimate Warrior would do the same thing. It's possibly he copied Butch Reed.
Well, it is, because he also did the
and then he did a flying shoulder tackle and a quick, easy pin on Chick Donovan.
Which Warrior also has done in a number of matches.
And being that his name started, in Memphis, he was still teaming with Sting as Rock and Flash, the Freedom Fighters, the Blade Runners, and then Warrior would then work for World Class and become Dingo Warrior, and Vince McMahon said, "What the heck is a dingo?" Well, no one told Vince McMahon that dingo is a wild dog in Australia. No one ever told that. But Warrior, he got his name started in World Class here.
Now later in the show, I think you have Rock and Soul that's supposed to be teaming, but that's a different rock than what he's describing.
But the moves, I would believe that Warrior copied Butch Reed. It's possible other wrestlers have done the same thing. So, many have done the power press, drop, and do a shoulder tackle, but very reminiscent of a future Ultimate Warrior. But Butch Reed easily defeats Chick Donovan, who's a world-class mainstay. It was a standard match.
I know. We might have to look back to tapes of Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Yes.
I think he
would press up and down, up and down.
Yeah, I think he did that too.
But it was an okay match between two muscular guys.
Yeah.
All right, the next match was kind of you can say more of a gimmick match, but an absolute rarity in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
Kamal the Ugandan Giant with General Skandar Akbar and Kimchi, and that's been played. And that Kimchi character, whomever is under the mask, has been played by so many people over the years.
Yeah.
Versus the Great Kabuki, managed by Gary Hart. The one rarity about this, it was apparent heel versus heel. A real rarity. WWF has also done it very few times.
It would be nice to hear insights as to what created this match.
Yeah, what led to it. It's maybe just a put-together match, but you wonder who's face and who's heel. No, it's against heel. Now, the one thing I was pointing out about Gary Hart is I like saying an underrated manager, where compared to like a J.J. Dillon, James J. Dillon was an executive director. Called an executive director of Four Horsemen. He was more of a suit and tie guy, executive, and where Gary Hart
was more involved in matches.
He was more involved, but he had a pissed off. He was really a pissed off kind of attitude. He was always angry. He was always mad of who his guy, who he's managing, and who his opponent was. He was always angry. He was never calm. And it was a good thing. It's why he was underrated. But we didn't get to see much of him in the territory. We didn't get to see much of him in territory days unless you lived in that area. But we got to see him mostly, I think, 89, 90 when he was managing with Terry Funk and Great Muta. Now with the two, Kamala Nagano and Giant. Now I wanted to point out when they were both announced, Kamala's name. It's strangely now. I think unless WWF changed it by one letter. Kamala, here in the world class, it's spelled K-I. Kimmala. Now, I don't think WWF ever called him Kimmala.
My best guess is that the change would have been so they had a copyright on it in the future. Which would never surprise me knowing that company on trying to copyright everything.
Great Kabuki. He is such a wonderful gimmick. Oh, yeah. It's such an awesome looking gimmick where he wears kind of an African, I'd say African tribe mask, like a shrunk head mask. And he does the nunchucks, which is an awesome thing to start out with. How do you describe that?
What the outfit of Great Kabuki, I think, was supposed to be like a Japanese demon, like a mythical demon lord type of deal, like an Oni type character. So the nunchucks was basically standards to show being impressive.
He's very good at it. So
I get it as a gimmick to get people's attention into the match, which it did, because people reacted to it.
And during the match, we were saying that their paint, it doesn't look like it's paint, like it's water-based paint. It looks like a chalk.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't melt off or peel off.
If it is chalk, it would make sense, because as the announcer was talking during the match, it was 90 degrees in May in Texas. So chalk would actually naturally stay on your face longer, which is why you didn't see the same
even an indoor show, Sting and the Road Warriors, as their ring work and their interaction and the heat from the lights, the paint from their faces would actually peel off like wallpaper.
Right.
Where these guys, it's just very vaguely spreading.
Yeah.
It's not melting or peeling off.
And more of what you saw was the effect of the green mist being all over his chest.
Now, one thing you also pointed out with Great Kabuki, he's very good at martial art moves, and he's basically good at kicking.
I know what I was always wondering what was the inspiration behind Shawn Michaels' Savant Kick or Sweet Chin Music Kick, and during this match you saw Kabuki do the exact same kick, where it was such a standing straight position and a turn of an angle to pull it off, that you could see that years later how he would have done the exact same maneuver. So a lot of credit for him should go to Kabuki for pulling this off first.
Yeah, I said when you brought up Shawn Michaels, I was no fan of Shawn Michaels. I was a fan of the Rockers. I'm not a fan of Shawn Michaels as an individual. but it also Stan Lane.
You brought up
both these guys had their own version of the Savate kick.
Yeah, you had Stan Lane doing the maneuver, which later in the match, Kabuki did a kick that was like him in the middle, and then it went high up, which was more of how Stan Lane did that type of mover. So you saw him pull off both types of kicks of both wrestlers.
Now, this match is very similar to the earlier mixed tag match, where the fans, the match itself, and the camera began focusing on Gary Hart and General Skanbar Akbar, started to interact, then get physical, which led to the match ending in a double disqualification because the managers themselves fought, which is also a rarity for managers to get physical. It doesn't happen often in any of the territories.
They didn't disqualify until each of the managers hit the opposing wrestlers.
Right.
Let's be clear. They didn't actually disqualify while they were hitting each other.
But even when in September 1988, when they tried to get the Midnight Express title match on Anderson and it didn't happen, only maybe one match happened. They had a lot of TV trying to attempt to get these two teams to work together. The managers were both heels. This is so similar that the camera work, it's more focusing. This match ended up focusing the ending focused more on the managers, and these guys could and they did physically interact with each other. They did fight, where JJ and Cornette would never have done that.
Right.
Well, it's curious
because their personas was more of being the cowardly manager.
Now here's a question: do you think, say, if Tully Van John Anderson had remained a while in Crockett with the NWA, if, say, be a 6-man tag, J.J. Dillon, Tully Van John Anderson, Cornette and the Midnight Express, it'd be interesting to see Cornette and Dillon go at it. But I don't think it would have been much more of a really fight.
No.
Rather, Gary Hart and Skander Akbar, they were fighting.
Yeah, it would never be something like this because neither one had that persona of being someone that was an interactive fighter. Both of them are basically more of the cowardly heel type thing that would run away from fights.
And as we said at the beginning, this probably was just a throw together match, a gimmick match, a Kamali Giant against Great Kabuki. I would say Great Kabuki. When I started as a fan of who was related to who, I kind of fictionally or cartoonishly said, strangely enough, I thought Great Muta would be the son of the Great Kabuki. It's just, some of these guys would say they were adding a name Junior to their name. Especially the Lucha Libre, the Mexicans. And some of them are our father and son. Some are uncle and nephew. And some are really related.
And some were trying to live off a name of
and some of them would completely copy a previous name. Mr. Wrestling 1, Mr. Wrestling 2. Yeah. Completely different people, but they did work, and they did work together, like Wrestling 1 and Wrestling 2. But Great Muta, Great Kabuki. I didn't get to see much of Great Kabuki, as the territories ended and we got to see Great Muta. And so, wow! So I'm thinking, and the way he copied Kabuki, and I saw tapes. It was called Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Lords of the Ring, Super Matches, Super Bouts. This is the first in 3 matches in the show that this tape I saw for the first time. It was territory matches, and Great Kabuki, wow, and I saw Great Muta in 88-89. Such a copy. I'm thinking, wow. I'm thinking maybe he's the son of Great Kabuki. No, I'm way off. It was just a respected copy.
Now, while you were actually thinking of this, I finally figured out how you could actually have 2 cowardly type managers actually work a physical type match, and it wouldn't be about them fighting each other. Remember, Cornette was more famous for the tennis racket. Yeah. So basically, you would have both of them trying to die for the tennis racket to use the weapon. And then when one of them grabs the weapon, say Cornette, then you would have J.J. Dillon grab for one of the belts because the Horseman was
Cornette was able to get physically involved with Paulie dangerously.
Yeah. So you would have a weapon type scenario, and that's how physically you would have those two get involved in
the
match.
This is where managers did physically get involved with each other, let alone this match was very good. Great Kabuki Kamala. It was a very good gimmick match. It wasn't a gimmick match saying cage match. It was a gimmick match. They themselves were the gimmick.
Yeah, because you don't have heel versus heel.
No, it's an incredibly rare thing. It's just, why not throw them together and work together? But their managers got involved, and this honestly should have been kind of a mixed tag match. It would have worked.
Yeah, you could see a continuation of it.
But it was a very good gimmick match.
Oh, yeah.
right, next match of the show is this is the first match I saw, and I mentioned it before. It was called Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Lords of the Ring, Super Bouts, Super Matches, and there was so many territories. They were showing the first time I ever saw a match from the territories, and they covered this first parade of champions is the Junkyard Dog versus the Missing Link with General Scandal Akbar. I laugh like hell. The Battle of the Headbutts. Definitely Battle of Headbutts. The one thing I kept saying about Junkyard Dog, he is so over it. Not one wrestler in any interview said this man was so over. They say Louisiana. He, honest to God, was pre-Rock a black Hulk Hogan. He was so popular. There's not one wrestler, not one territory that he was not cheered.
Which is a lot of the reasons a lot of people wanted to work with him, because they were going to get reactions every single time.
Now, Missing Link, he is such a character, especially with the way his haircut is his face paint. And General Skandar Akbar, I'll give him credit to how many guys he manages are strange.
Which we saw after the match ended when he decided to take the ring steps and headbutt himself with
Oh
him.
my God! Yeah, at the end, you know,
just to show he was crazy.
He take a wooden ring steps and pick it up and hit himself. Okay, wooden or metal, you're gonna give yourself a concussion doing that. But the one thing about this match, and during just as the match after the match started, they got on all fours kind of like dogs or like goat or like ram, what they call them, the goats or rams. Mountain goats. And they were ramming their heads together, and with Missing Link, whoa, it's just like I'm getting a headache from this. This was without a doubt should have been labeled the Battle of the Headbutts.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see it.
But the ending of the match, now, one thing about Missing Link, you know, many wrestlers, a few wrestlers have done the diving headbutt off the top rope. Dynamite Kid, Harley Race. And Harley Race has said that kind of move can lead to concussions, can hurt your neck. Now, when I watched Missing Link do it, I think it was the second or top rope, and he, with his knees and his arms, prevented the full impact. Right. But when Missing Link was a cover Junkyard Dog, General Skandar Akbar. Now, this is very reminiscent. What General Skandar Akbar does is grab Junkyard Dog's foot outside the ropes and holding it down, so Junkyard Dog doesn't even attempt to kick out.
No.
But Skandar Akbar, he's holding his foot down. Very reminiscent to 1989. Am I correct here? Yeah, WrestleMania 5. We were there in Atlantic City.
When Rick Rude defeated the Ultimate Warrior.
Rick Rude pinned the Ultimate Warrior to win the Intercontinental title, and Bobby Heenan held Warrior's foot down. Now you said Bobby was different than what Skandar Akbar did.
I give Bobby more credit because he did it more. I mean, this guy was just holding it down, but you could see him if you were the referee. Where when Bobby did it, he literally had his body so down that you probably could only see the hands, and half of his body was under the ring ropes. Where this one, it was just a standard outside the ring type of.
But unlike where
I wasn't critiquing this, I'm just giving more credit to Bobby.
Unlike how Bobby Heenan held Warrior's foot down and Rude Pinward to win the Intercontinental title. In that match, I was screaming so loud, no! I was so angry at that ending. You swear, if you go that videotape at full volume, somehow you can hear me screaming no. I swear I heard it. Now, what strangely happens, the match is awarded to Missing Link. However, a second referee comes in and says, no, he saw Skandar Akbar holding Junkyard Dog's foot down, and a reverse decision. I call that a dusty finish.
Yeah,
it was a dusty finish. The second referee. Sometimes I know it's part of it. It works. I am not a fan of the second referee reverse. I honestly am not. If they've got to cheat to win, they got to cheat to win. A reverse finish, it does work. I am so old school that some things like this don't work. I just don't fit with me.
What's even rare, and I don't know if I would mind it, is if they decided instead of the disqualification finish, the referee automatically does match
continues. Yeah, the match continues. Tommy Young did that many times. Yeah. Match continues. Yeah, so that's
another idea I would have done.
So Junkyard Dog wins by reverse decision on Missing Link, which was, I said, this match should have been labeled Battle of the Headbutts without a shadow of a doubt. But it was a very good match, and Junkyard Dog, I said, is so over, especially in the territories. Very good match. This whole show, I don't think had a bad match in it.
No, I would agree with you on that one.
Next match on the show, the American Tag Team Champions, the Super Destroyers, versus Iceman King Parsons and Rock and Roll Bug Zumoff. Super Destroyers, okay, so many teams have been under those masks. Even Sergeant Slaughter said he debuted practically under that mask whenever he came out.
And in this case, it was the Irwins.
It was Cowboys, Scott and Bill Irwin. They didn't need to. They didn't need to be under those masks. It just should have been wrestled similar to what WWF had the Smoking Gun. Scott and Bill Irwin were a good cowboy variation in the territory shows. What now? You were bringing up when we were talking during the match. As calling this a filler match. Now when
which is weird to call a tag team title change a filler match.
A title match. Title matches in the territory days were the far more important matches. Now this match, if it wasn't a tag team title match, I would call it probably the second or third match to start.
Yeah.
Now with the others, Iceman King Parsons. I've only remember him from the world class matches, the tapes I've ever seen. He should have worked with WWE for WCW. And you're thinking maybe it's a copyright name issue.
I'm thinking he wanted to keep whatever his copyright or whatever gimmick was, and that's why he never worked in the bigger promotions.
I think he would have been great in either company.
We have no proof as to why. That's the only thing that made sense to me, because he probably could have worked at either company and that would have been fine. So there had to be reasons as to why he didn't do it. As towards his tag team partner,
we really don't want to go into the negative situation, the story of what he did or whatever happened. So we don't need to include that in this review of this match.
Our review is just basically on the match itself. Because yes, we do know how persona non grata this performer is in real life.
But it was actually a back and forth, very good tag team entertaining match. It really was.
Oh yeah, which had the unexpected finish of you had the heels in a 2-on-1 situation towards the end of the match, but Parsons was able to counter both of them, and he got the pinfall to win the title.
And they win the American Tag Team titles. Now, we were also discussing about sometime later. We're going to do a podcast about the tag team titles. You don't wonder when Kevin Von Erich sold the company to Vince. And Vince ended up buying most of the territories, and the more he spread nationally, that the more people were paying attention to WWF, so the other companies closed down. You wonder whatever happened to these territory titles, and we got to do a separate podcast about that.
Do the actual wrestlers that last held the titles? Do they have the titles? Does Vince just have the collection by himself? Is an actual.
They may not look like much, but they were just they were the titles that title histories. When books came out about the shows, the first one I think that came out was called Title Histories, and that's where I learned a lot about the wrestlers throughout territory history.
So, if any one of you have any insights as to what happened,
whatever happened to these tag
team belts, please make a comment.
Yeah,
let us know.
Please comment about our reviews. Please comment about anything we're saying. Please. But it was a very good, entertaining back and forth match. It really was. And you said it was a filler match, but
I referred to it. I know I referred to this as a filler match only because what most people were focused on this show was the final two matches, which both involved Von Erichs, and in the first one we're going to see it involves the Freebirds. So I understand anything else was going to be considered a filler compared to those.
Now with the Super Destroyers. Masked guys, unless they're well-known, they were always known for their masks. The Super Destroyers have been, several people have been under the mask of the Super Destroyers. And I think that the guys that we would call jobbers, say George South, Barry Horowitz, just off the top of my head, well-known jobbers, they should have been playing under the masks instead. Ric Flair and many others have said these guys are so good because they worked with the champions in TV tapings. They worked with legendary wrestlers. The jobbers were very good wrestlers in their own right. They were just there to show off the champions and the stars.
Which is why bigger names liked working with them, because they always made them.
So I think the jobber wrestlers should have been under masks rather than Scott and Bill Irwin, and they themselves became jobbers, unfortunately, with WWF and TV tapings.
Right.
But, for this match, It should no. If it wasn't for the title match, it would have been one of the first 2 matches, first 3 matches.
Yeah.
But it was a very good tag team match going back and forth.
It's the match I would have put. It would after the mixed tag that started the show.
Yes.
That's what I would have done if it wasn't a title match.
Yes. All right. Next match was for the World Class 6-Man Tag Team Championship. If I get the names right, Fritz, who came out of retirement, Fritz Von Erich, the father. Kevin Von Erich and Mike Von Erich. Kerry Von Erich did briefly, vaguely come out into the stadium area, but it was Fritz, and it said that if the Von Erichs win the match, win the titles back from the Freebirds, Kerry would take Fritz Von Erich's place. Then the Fabulous Freebirds are the current World Class 6-Man Tag Team Champions. Now, the strange thing about this 6-Man Tag Team title. Now, what did we hear how that title was pronounced? What caught us?
That this is the second most important world title next to the world title itself. In the at what point do you just want to go to the commercial for "Thank you, Captain Obvious"?
Now, with the first the Von Erichs, I have to honest to God say, I know they're only in Texas, but I think they are so fucking popular, so over. That, let alone in the state of Texas, I think they were more over than Hogan was nationally. I think that's how mega they did commercials. Everybody in the state of Texas knew them. They did commercials for restaurants and stores. Let alone their own territory. You never have to say world class or Texas. Just say I'm going to work for the Von Erich territory.
It would be similar to Dusty in Florida or Race in the St. Louis, Missouri area.
Yeah.
That kind of popularity, but this is more highlighted because they had bigger shows.
Now, when I say also again the 6-Man Tag Team title, it was a trophy. I never understood what the hell is the point of the trophy. Now, around I think it was 84 to 86, Crockett had the trophy also. Now, they both had different trophies because I know once World Class closed, so I think it was around 88, 89, somewhere around that time. It was like 8. I know they became USWA around 88, 89. 89, 98, they changed USWA. Now, that trophy, Dusty and the Road Warriors won the titles from the Russians, and they won a trophy, very copy of similar. That's a strange thing to have a trophy for a title. But, yeah, the 6-Man, I honestly think...
I would like to know, they were either trying to replicate Texas high school sports, which had trophies as their titles, or they were trying to replicate the Stanley Cup. And that's the only thing I could think of as to why you would have a trophy be your title.
But both companies had practically the same exact trophy. Dusty, I think, around somewhere later, 88, he changed it to title belts. I don't understand why they couldn't have a title belts. So we're going to do a podcast about what we think of title belts and what happened to them. Now, their opponents, the current now the Von Erichs and the Freebirds probably they changed that 6-man title back and forth probably half a dozen times. Now with the Freebirds, Michael Hayes, I describe while we're watching the match. I swear he's a pre-version of he's the Michael Jackson of wrestling. He can dance, he can talk, but he can't wrestle for shit.
No,
but he's a good talker. Before the match, the television broadcast they broadcasted their hit song "Bad Street," which is an absolute badass rock song, no doubt.
Which became a precursor to what a lot of wrestlers ended up doing. So a lot of credit towards the popularity of music of each wrestlers having their own real song. Should be credited to the Freebirds.
There has been arguments of who started music before. Now there's been claimed that Jerry Lawler started vague amount of music. It probably started at Memphis. Memphis had a lot of live television. Now, but with the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, and then the Von Erichs had used music, and with the Freebirds. Now the Freebirds originally used Leonard Skinner's Freebird song. I know that. Then they created Bad Street. Either song was great.
And that was the uniqueness, coming up with their own music, and that became a type that every other
a precursor for all the rock music that all the wrestlers from here on would end up using. Now, describing the other Freebirds. Now, Terry Gordy, he's using like a cut or a cut off or what? You know what almost what her shirt looks like? A sports bra.
Yeah.
It's so short. It's so tight on him. It looks like a sports bra.
But it was to make him look bigger and fatter than he really was.
That Terry Gordy was for a big guy. He was great, just like Michael Hayes.
Right, but he was really only about 250, 260. But the look made him look like he was near 300.
But he was definitely, without a doubt, the wrestler, the powerhouse of the Freebirds. Right. Now with Buddy Roberts, I am not a fan of Buddy Roberts. The way he talks, he screams or grunts. He looked like a shrimp. Now I was almost discussing with my brother the difference between, would you rather be called a midget or a dwarf? And I swear I want to call Buddy Roberts a midget or a dwarf. He is so small. He doesn't match the Freebird look where gorgeous Jimmy Garvin does. And Jimmy Garvin in '89 teamed up with Michael Hayes to reform the Freebirds, and people have argued now he don't belong in a Freebird. Yes, he does, people.
My critique of Buddy Roberts is actually going to go into your counter on your own points. Michael Hayes had the look and the promo work, but not the wrestling ability. Terry Gordy had the wrestling ability, but not the mic work.
He had mic work vaguely.
Terry Gordy had the wrestling ability, but not the other stuff. Buddy Roberts was lacking in all three categories.
But yeah, I was imagining that every time the Von Erichs in the ring, whomever, even the Freebird, whomever they're in the ring with, it's amazing that how many times we saw Crockett or even the WWF that fans would jump in the ring and no, you're not going to hurt my hero. You're not going to hurt my favorite. I can't believe these people, once the Freebirds at times took the advantage and started beating on the Von Erichs, that nobody jumped in the ring. You're not beating on a Von Erich. I'm surprised that didn't happen in this show. This entire stadium is for the Von Erichs. So, like you said earlier, that this show is built around one match, but it's all Von Erich. And
it was built around two matches. This was one of them too. It was built around this too.
But as a six-man, also a couple things happened that were kind of strange. Now, we were caught off guard. Terry Gordy, before the wrestlers even got in the ring, Terry Gordy took a chair. He flung it. It looked like it went over the entire ring to the other side. Whoa! It looked like it could have hit anybody.
It was an interesting show of strength. The only problem is...
Jesus, that was way out of control.
The only problem is it did end up injuring one of the Von Erichs.
I'm not sure if that it was Kevin Von Erich that did strike Kevin Von Erich.
That's what
because even Kevin Von Erich, you can notice his finger was cut and he was dripping blood right in the ring, and he was, what hell? He's looking at his hand. What happened here? He wasn't even sure. So,
but not to worry, folks. Such things involving chairs being thrown in the ring.
Jesus!
Will never happen again in the history of professional wrestling. So
right. Terry Funk in ECW when I was there,
and that's a whole different video for a whole different day.
Chairs being thrown. But with the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, that without a doubt goes down in the top 5 most legendary feuds, and especially going back to the 1982 cage match between Flair and Kerry, and Michael was a referee. Whatever happened, Flair was down. Kerry could pin him to win the title. Kerry said, "I'm not going to win the title like that," and he was going to leave the ring. And something happened that the cage door got hit. I think it was Michael Hayes got hit. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what happened. That's where it happened. Yep. Somewhere the cage door flung into Michael Hayes, I believe, or it was Kerry Von Erich that got struck. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. That's the moment. Holy cow! The Freebird Von Erich feud made world class, made Texas.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to focus on, Fritz Von Erich. Now, he had a tape, like a white tape, surrounding his hand, and it looked like similar, like he was trying to make a brass knuckles kind of weapon on his hand. The Von Erich name, that if anyone has, I guess those are old school like me who research. The Von Erich name is very strange. If I'm not mistaken, in the '60s, the Von Erich name was actually a German Nazi-based gimmick. And you mentioned now for a southern state, for a southern territory,
for the time I could understand it for the '60s in the South, but as you pointed out, their original name was what, Atkinson?
Atkinson is their actual real name, Atkinson.
Which I've actually heard much more in the South, so it's actually more affiliated with the state of Texas.
Now, how he turned that Von Erich into a baby face, I guess maybe he became the promoter. That's what had happened. How he went from a Nazi gimmick, maybe it failed. It didn't get over whatsoever, even as a bad guy. Maybe when he pushed his kids into the company, there's where they became the baby faces.
Yeah, and this is where it helps having the Freebirds as opponents because they easily make people look more babyface.
Now, this match was not going to end with the Freebirds winning. No. There was no way.
Because then one of those famous signs of if they win, we riot would have taken place.
Oh, it would have been a fan riot. You would have had the entire ringside riot.
And speaking of if they don't win, we riot, we're going to our main event.
Now, the match ends with Kevin Von Erich coming off the top rope to pin Buddy Roberts to regain the World Class 6-Man title.
Correct.
And now we're going to the main event.
Correct. I think I would have added. Go ahead.
Now, the main event, it was Kerry Von Erich versus NWA World Heavyweight Champion, despite the fact they called him a World Heavyweight Champion. That's another argument against Ric Flair. Now, they've had many matches in the past couple of years, and it comes down to this match. And he said if Kerry did not win this match...
Oh, yeah, they would riot.
There would have been a ringside riot. But, okay, as many matches as all the Von Erichs have had, Kevin, Mike... even David had against Flair. I think as athletic as they are, as powerful as they are, as good wrestlers as they are, I think it was the inexperience to defeat Flair. And that's been said by fans who can defeat Flair. And this whole show led to this match because it was David that should have had this title match. David Von Erich, any wrestler who would ever know the Von Erichs worked that territory. David was the far better wrestler. Wanted to be the wrestler.
Right.
Kevin Von Erich was being the second best, and none of them. Kerry Von Erich did want to be a wrestler, but none of them actually wanted to be a wrestler, other than maybe Kerry. And Kerry was very muscular. That's all he had was the muscular look.
Right. He had the look of the champion.
He was a bit better than Ultimate Warrior.
I would refer to him as similar to a Lex Luger type.
Yes, like a Lex Luger. It was experience. And the only reason this match should have been David Von Erich defeating Flair, and even though it would have been still the biggest pop of all time. Man, yeah. Wow. What?
But that was the point of the Memorial Show. The Memorial Show was going to lead into this type of match to have him win the title. So, as you were pointing out, the real thing that people remember besides that came out of this match is that it's the rare time that a particular maneuver was used to win a match.
Yeah, but before it even started, okay, Ric Flair comes out, and what shocked us was he did not come out to his 2001 Space Odyssey, the orchestra song, which I can't even pronounce the actual name of it. Sprock something. He didn't come out to that.
And then we saw the message on technical difficulties during the time of...
It may have been a copyright issue?
So, our speculation is that it did air, or something similar to it did air, and that's what was copyright removed. And if that's the case, I do give credit to whoever made this broadcast, because you still heard the fans cheering.
And Kerry Von Erich came out to a music, I mean, similar to the other Von Erichs in 6-Man, they came with the music, we didn't even it wasn't a well-known national rock song we couldn't even recognize.
And I admit the whole thing is confusing, because you're still dealing with a song that doesn't have any copyrights because it's so old.
Now, it was a very good 20-some-odd minute match. It was a very good match. And said Kerry Von Erich still, as many matches he's had against Flair in the past, it was experience versus he's muscular. He looks like Lex Luger. He looks like Warrior. They think that a muscular body can defeat somebody with so much experience who's wrestled the best around the world. Well...
And the reality is, he actually used a wrestling maneuver.
And then it comes down to, I love the one moment he's on that Flair. He goes up on the top rope, and Kerry throws him off the top rope, and he throws Ric Flair across Texas Stadium. I love that line. When then there was there was a kind of a fight of how they can get maneuvered, and then Kerry puts him in. A move that typically does get a pin attempt.
Yeah, it's often used in pin attempts, and used often to create counter pin attempts. But in this case, it actually was
the backslide. It's been used throughout the years and years. The backslide, and all of a sudden, it says when the announcer says backslide, 1, 2, 3. A dream come true. You should have if you see the rings, the entire ringside jumped to their feet. Finally, it happened. But again, they're announcing Kerry Von Erich. They said the new World Heavyweight Champion. They never say NWA. How often do you ever hear a title based either out of Crockett or based with the National Wrestling Alliance? Ever say it is so few times the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. It's always been down to World Heavyweight Champion.
The only guess I could make is because it was in World Class, that was the deal that was made with NWA, that they couldn't announce it as the NWA title. They had to refer to it as the World Heavyweight title instead. Now,
Kerry Von Erich's title reign lasted quite a while, actually. In one of the wrestling magazines, they put a list out. It was a block. It was a column block, and it listed 3 weeks. He had it from I think the show was May 5th or May 6th till about May 24th, and he would lose the title back to Ric Flair in Yokohama, Japan. 2 out of 3 falls. But the entire 3 weeks, he wrestled, whether it's in Texas, either in Japan. Kerry defended that title against so many people. I'll give him the credit. He was a real, true world heavyweight champion. He defended that title, despite the fact it was mostly in the Texas-based defenses, I believe. But he defended it every day. He didn't go weekly or a monthly or I'll wait till next match. Ric Flair, he defended it every day like a real, true champion did, like his brother David would have.
Oh yeah.
And this was the match that brought 50,000 to Dallas Cowboys Texas Stadium. It was a great ending. It was actually overall a great show of matches.
Yeah, there was no
dull matches.
Yeah, there was a couple of good matches,
okay,
average matches, but there was no bad matches.
There was no dull matches. This stinks or sucks. This show was great.
So if we only had a couple of critiques, it would have been on placement order of the matches,
yes,
but not the matches itself.
Overall, this show was great.
Exactly.